As you all know, this is to collect money for Cragmont. And ironically, even though we lived in the same town, my connection to our next speaker started at Cragmont. He came with Damien to Cragmont, and there was a little bit of a dorm mix-up, and I was like, you know what, they're my guys, I'll take them right here. And ironically enough, Carson sat on his bed and hardly said 3 words the whole time. And to know Carson now, it's hard to believe because he's kind of the class clown. And then Damien, he was my troublemaker. I had to stay on him most of the time. But with all that being said, if you would, let's give a warm welcome to our next speaker, which is Carson.
I'm not as talented as her, so I Googled something. My topic is fear, and I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm a teacher. I'm not a teacher. I'm just a guy who tries to teach. All right. How often do you feel afraid? In my early childhood, I was scared of clowns, spiders, the dark, the monsters under my bed, and heights, and I'm still scared of all of those things. Now I feel afraid much more often. Maybe it was my future. What happens if I don't get that degree? Maybe it was entering adulthood. What if I can't save enough for retirement? Maybe it was because all of these disastrous events that have occurred in our country, like the storming of the Capitol and all the raids and all the other things going on. There is, it seems, much to fear. But should we fear it? Psalm 91 says, "Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. Surely He will save you from the fowler's snare and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. You will not fear the terror of the night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, nor the plague that destroys at midday. 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you." Before the actor Jimmy Stewart was famous, he headed off to fight in World War II. His father, a man of few words, teared up at their parting. He clearly wanted to give his son some last words of advice, of comfort, but he couldn't speak. Instead, he pressed a note into Jimmy's hand and walked away. The note was a handwritten copy of Psalm 91. Jimmy tucked it into his pocket and carried it with him into the war, meditating on it during scariest times. Christians are called to be people of courage, of trust, of good cheer. We aren't called to be people of fear. Yet it can be argued that there is much to fear. Local and global mundane terrors like car crashes and illnesses, and out-of-the-box horrors like terrorism and freak accidents. How do we keep from being paralyzed? By remembering the truth. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, a man persecuted by the Nazis who knew a thing or two about the terror of ungodly powers, wrote in a sermon he titled "Learning to Die." Fear God instead of the many things which you fear. Do not fear the coming day. Do not fear other people. Do not fear power and might, even if they are able to deprive you of property and life. Do not fear the great ones of this world. Do not even fear yourselves. Do not fear sin. All of this fear will be the death of you. You are free from all this fear. It isn't there for you. But fear God and God alone, for God has power over the powers of this world. The whole world must fear God. God has power to give us life or destroy us. Everything else is a game. Only God is earnest, entirely in earnest. Fear God's earnestness and give God the glory. When we fear God, bowing before His incredible, merciful love and reverence, awe, and submission, worldly fears diminish. The world can harm us. Eventually, all of us will be gone. Yet God's promises are eternal, and He is the protector of souls. In Him we are everlasting. In Him we are safe. In Him we have peace. So, like I said, I'm not trying to scare anybody, but have an example, okay? You have a child. You're struck with all these fears. I'm not going to say the fears because we have children in the building, but, I don't want to, because I'm not trying to scare anyone. But, you have all these fears struck into you. You're worrying constantly, especially when they're young. because you're the one who's supposed to take care of them. When the older, it might even bring even more fear into you. You're so afraid, and you tell yourself. You're so afraid, you tell yourself, and the what ifs pour out of you. You know, like, what if something happened? You know, what if I can't do something about it? When these fears overwhelm you, simply remind yourself Jesus is with them. You can't promise yourself that everything would be okay. Despite all your care and love for your child, you can't protect them from every possibility. Sometimes the worst does happen, but even if it does, your child wouldn't be alone, and neither are you. Jesus was there. Those who dwell in the shelter of the Most High, those who live in God's tent under His protection with His love, they can rest. Jesus is here. Hallelujah.